I was playing Nicolas Cage on Dead by Daylight's public test build when I noticed. At the start, he was carrying a medkit. Then I pressed a button. He ran a little bit silly for a moment, and then the medkit was replaced with a different medkit. On this new medkit, an add-on caught my eye. It was orange. I hadn't seen one of these in a very, very long time. This add-on was the Refined Serum. This is a Haunted by Daylight add-on from previous Halloween events. It can be used during a heal to increase survivor movement speed by 5% for 20 seconds. But more importantly, this add-on is no longer available in the Blood Web. No longer available in the Blood Web. For those of you who aren't already aware, Nicolas Cage has come to Dead by Daylight as a survivor. One of his perks is Dramaturgy, and this perk does a lot of things. The one thing that I am currently interested in, though, is the fourth of its random effects that can trigger when you activate the perk. If you activate it, and the event gets selected, you will drop any item you might have been carrying at the time, and a new item will appear in your hand. This new item will have randomized add-ons, and one of these add-ons can be the Refined Serum. I'm sure that, by now, many people have noticed this add-on showing up, but there is one unfortunate fact. When you leave the trial, you lose any add-ons that are attached to your item. Fortunately, there is an Ace Visconti perk, mostly a remarkable one, called Ace in the Hole. When using Ace in the Hole and retrieving an item from a chest, this perk will attach one or more add-ons to that item. As a secondary feature, and the feature we're really after, when you escape a trial, you will keep any add-ons that are currently attached to your item. What this means is, if we have both of the relevant perks, we can try to activate Dramaturgy repeatedly until we either get an item with the Refined Serum attached, or we get hooked, or bleed out, or the killer DCs, or the server crashes, or... Okay. Once we find the Refined Serum, we simply have to escape the trial with the item in our hand, and it should become available in our add-on inventory. Before grinding to get a Refined Serum, it's worth testing to make sure that Ace in the Hole can actually save your add-ons when you escape. With this in mind, I ran the two perks together and verified that, okay. Turns out that the game doesn't like saving your add-ons, even when you have Ace in the Hole. But I didn't like that answer, so I had to make sure that I was seeing this right. Before the next couple of matches, I made a record of which add-ons I had in my inventory. Then I compared them to what I had after escaping. Oh right. Escaping isn't so easy when every survivor, including myself, is testing meme builds, and every killer is testing sweaty builds. Eventually I managed to escape with one of the items generated by Dramaturgy. And as before, it didn't keep its add-ons. Or did it? I compared my updated add-ons list with what I had recorded, and what's this? I have more add-ons than before. Turns out that even though the end game screen reports a lack of new add-ons, they still show up in your inventory anyway. With this new information, I was absolutely set to try grinding out a Refined Serum to see if I could actually collect it. My memory was telling me that the endgame screen should be showing add-ons in addition to the item, so just for the sake of being thorough, I spent a few more games attempting to check what the endgame screen looked like when you escaped with an item collected from a chest. I ran Plunderer's Instinct with Ace in the Hole, and as I suspected, it did successfully show these add-ons in the endgame screen. At this point, I can only assume that this must be a bug specific to Dramaturgy. Alright, now it is time to grind out items in my search for a serum. This time, I must come prepared. If I find a serum and then the team gets 4K'd, I will be here forever. So I also included Distortion and Left Behind. Some goals warrant a little bit more of a selfish build. It was a nemesis. I knew this because a teammate got slapped by a whip less than a second into the first chase of the game. I worked the gens, casually waiting for my exhaustion to wear off so that I could give Dramaturgy another shot. I also unhooked each and every survivor that I could whenever needed. I played this match a little bit more timid than I normally would, but I was starting to get a little bit more bold later into the game because I was slowly giving up on my odds of actually getting a serum. I had already burned through my toolboxes, and the remaining survivors were downed, so I had essentially given up my chances of making anything more of this match. By now, I was just ready to take chase and let the other survivors reset. We were already on the last generator, and everyone should be able to escape if I just take a hook day or two. And then I see it. The med kit. With the gel dressings. And the refined serum. Farewell, altruism. I was ready to be a hero, but sometimes heroes just don't make it out. I don't think that I'm ready to be that hero. I'll just work this gen and pretend like I think that's the best strategy. Okay, he's coming my way. Maybe he won't notice me if I hide behind the gen. No? I guess I don't have a whole lot of choice left. It's my turn to try and be that hero after all. Unfortunately, heroes still aren't immune to foolishly running face first into a stack of tires. It's my turn to turn blue. Fortunately, for some crazy reason, many Nemesis players are allergic to the M1 attack. Unfortunately, I'm addicted to those tasty stacks of tires. I ran him for as long as I knew how, in the hopes that perhaps the last generator might be completed during the chase. I wasn't here to save my team, but it was here that I learned that I had little choice in the matter. I guess some involuntary heroes are destined to spend some time on a hook or two. Speaking of heroes, there was another Nicolas Cage still alive in this match, and this one was far more prepared to risk his neck in the name of altruism. He was also very much in danger of being stopped by that blue whip, whether he came to the rescue or not, so he boldly ran in and went for the unhook. As we danced around a bit, fumbling over who was getting in the way of who, Nemesis finally got over his M1 allergy and smacked the real hero of the match in the back. Sometimes, heroes just don't make it out. I made my way to the exit gate, but I wasn't certain whether this Nemesis was going to be satisfied with the 3K or not. The Nemesis had left the other player on the ground, so I hid by the gate to heal myself. While I was trying to decide whether I thought that a 2-man escape might still be possible, I saw that he had finally gone back for the hook. As soon as I saw this other Nicholas being picked up, I took my cue and I jumped onto the gate. They were far enough away that nothing but a disconnect or a stray zombie could stop me now. Fortunately, neither one of these showed its hideous face, and I was free. I had escaped. Escaped with a refined serum. I was so eager to check whether it had successfully been added to my inventory that I completely forgot to verify if it had even showed up on the endgame screen or not. Speaking of checking if it worked or not, Nicolas Cage is now the proud owner of a refined serum. No, it wasn't worth the effort. No, I likely won't ever use it. No, it won't exist anymore once this PTB ends. But I got it. I have collected my refined serum. Wait, what do you mean by won't exist anymore once this PTB ends? Well, I began my quest before this DLC was officially released by using the public test build of the game. The thing is, the functionality in this version can change on release, and the progress made during this gameplay eventually gets reset. But Nicolas Cage has now officially been released, and I must know if this still works, or if it has already become an arcane process, destined to be lost forever. At this point, I just need to verify two things. 1. Can you still obtain a refined serum with Dramaturgy? And 2. Can you preserve it beyond a single trial using Ace in the Hole? My first attempt was very kind, giving me an item within the first 20 seconds of the match. It didn't have a refined serum, but it did provide a point of data for my testing, instead of giving me one of the other 3 random effects. The item was a map with 2 unremarkable add-ons. The rest of the match went very poorly. I continued on to the next match. Again, I got an item on my first try. It was another map, mildly disappointing but not unexpected. I worked the gens and I ran around. I had hardly even seen the killer by the time I got my second item, a broken key. Not too much more time passed before Dramaturgy also provided me with a toolbox as well. I seemed to be getting pretty good odds this match, although I still only seemed to be getting basic add-ons. At this point I was confident that they had changed how the perk works. The description says that it will give a green rare item, and unlike in the PTB, it was consistently giving me only items with a rare quality. None of the other item rarities are showing up at all. It was at this moment that I realized that the higher rarity items, which had been showing up during the PTB, were probably the result of a bug. Sadly, this meant that they also would have likely patched out any unintended add-ons as well. If the Refined Serum couldn't be collected with Dramaturgy anymore, I might be the only person ever to get a Refined Serum into Nicolas Cage's inventory after a match, even if it was just in the PTB. I still hadn't received any medkits during this string of matches though, so I wanted to continue with my testing, just to be sure. After escaping, I continued on to play another match.
How could this be any fun for anybody? It's certainly not fun for me.
10 seconds into the trial, I already had my next item. As predicted, it was another rare item. It was another map. What's with all these maps? 3 out of the 5 items that I had generated so far were maps. And it was starting to get a little bit odd. Statistically, it's not very significant, due to the very low sample size. But it was at least enough to raise an eyebrow. This game was a pretty uneventful one, with no more items showing up. The next match was a Legion, which was a major disappointment, since Dramaturgy doesn't work while injured. I managed to get an item on my second use of the perk, and surprise, surprise, it was another green map. By the time I got hooked, I was ready to just leave this trial, but while I was trying to move on, my team really seemed to want this escape. I decided to hold on a little bit longer for their sake. To make this less painful, I hunted down a chest to search for a medkit, since getting healed was the only way I could continue my testing. Fortunately I found one and I continued on. After a couple more attempts, I did indeed get another item, but this one wasn't what I was expecting. It was a broken key, but this key had a purple add-on, something that I had been starting to suspect wasn't even possible. We escaped the match, and I began another, eager to see what other add-ons might appear. This one was a major letdown. The Ghostface cared about nothing but winning, and my perk wasn't willing to provide a single item. It was honestly one of the least fun games I'd had in months. On to the next. I immediately got another green key, and another purple add-on. While nothing new, it was at least reassuring to see that the game was still willing to behave a bit. While I worked gens and tried to grind out a new item, The cape ran the Oni for an exceptionally long time. We had finished several generators, and I was hiding behind a rock, ready to return to the gen that I had been working on, and then I stopped, and I ran. I had seen it. The game had very unexpectedly given me a purple item, a purple medkit, and attached to this medkit was what I had been searching for all along. I didn't actually think I would find it. I was already so close to being certain that they had patched it out. This was the Refined Serum that I had been fruitlessly searching for. My team had been playing quite well for the first half of the match, so I was willing to put a bit more faith in them than I usually would in such a tense situation. I needed to escape. Felt like they were ready to help me make that happen. I boldly worked the gens as if I had nothing to lose, and I bravely hid behind tires once in a while. The teamwork was actually quite inspiring, and before long, the last gen popped. Now, I simply needed to survive. I needed this escape. I needed this Oni to leave me alone. I said I need this Oni to leave me alone. I was actually quite nervous at this point, but the fear was unfounded, and my team held strong. I had managed to pull it off. We had managed to pull it off. We all escaped, and this time, I had actually collected it in the live servers, and it wasn't just a temporary build of the game. The last thing to do now is to verify that it actually saved the add-on. I have it. In Nicolas Cage's add-on inventory, there is one single Refined Serum. I can't be certain, but I think I might possibly be the very first person ever to have a Refined Serum in Nicolas Cage's inventory. Oddly enough, I don't actually care about the add-on itself, but I am very interested in the process it took to acquire it. I don't usually put this much effort into my videos, and I haven't decided yet if I'm going to focus on this type of content or not. If you liked it, let me know, and I might end up making more in the future. Also, don't forget to go out into the fog and collect at least one Refined Serum. For science.